So the kumlim parpa, I don't think those who attend here do the revision back at home. I can know that looking at people who visit this website. So when you go back home, you should make sure that you listen to it once again. You will not be able to remember after listening to it once. So the method of your study, there are so many things which are very true, and this is a study of method. So you need to have an accurate understanding of the method. And also, while I tell you the method, I'm also telling you the more accurate way of practicing it. So please have a little deeper understanding, and by listening to it again and again, the practicing methods, you have to practice them. Because we have a good system called internet, and since we are also able to see this in video and also can hear them, because this is stages of practice and also the method of study, you will know that we will be able to achieve our final goal. And this is the easiest way that has been elaborated. And so please make sure that you practice them, and by believing in them, please try not to have flaws in the method of practice. And if you do not have a proper memory or understanding of the study, then in the end you will finally have the flow. And once after the typhoon attack, I saw on Jiri Mountain the branches which got damaged. And when I actually studied them, all the normal trees, all the healthy trees, they were still very fine. But the trees which got damaged, they had some rotten roots, or they had some prior problems before the typhoon. So there were some insects, or maybe in outside it looks just fine, but maybe it was all eaten by insects all inside. And also some of them, they had rocks in front on top of their roots, and so they were not able to spread their roots. So because of the flows, all the trees that got damaged, they all had flows. So while practicing, you need to have the proper understanding, and even to the minute detail, you need to have the proper understanding, because in order to make sure that there are no mistakes while practicing. And because of that, please listen to this again and again, and please remember what you need to remember precisely. And although in speeches we are saying it, if you say that about 15 years ago I have said all these things, but you don't really remember what I said exactly, and you finally had the flow, that's almost like you have a cold, and after you got cured and you heal yourself, you found the medicine for cold. It's almost like that. So having no memory of years, it's kind of useless. And when you clean, even back at home, sometimes you find in the fridge that you bought from the market before, which you forgot, and you keep buying the same thing again and again. That means you don't have the memory, and if you don't have the memory, that's useless. So please not commit the mistake of buying the same thing again.
맹목에 흘 나이들은 다 지났어요. 머리가 흥해가지고 그냥
And the age that you need that you have a proper understanding, the time is already gone. It's not like back in your olden times, but right now you have some advantages because you have the experiences, you understand the meaning, and if you're not able to remember word to word, but you will still know what's the logic. So even that's why people living in our region, we still understand even if we say, oh, this happened because of this and this. That's because of all the experiences that we had before while living until this age. So because we have the experiences, try to understand the logic in the learning. And but if I say something like this, then someone says, oh, you have actually said that. I'm doing this because you said that. Once someone told me that before you ask me to pray to all the gods, to Avalokitesvara and also to Buddha and all other gods, but I met so many thousands of people, and and that's why I'm not able to remember a person, like each person that I met. But I know in my head that normally the speeches I make, and I'm sure that I have never said that, and there's no reason for me to say that you need to pray to all the gods. I think she didn't understand that it's the same eventually, even if I pray to Avalokitesvara, or even if I pray to the wisdom god or the medicine god. I should have told her that it's the same even if you pray to one god, but she didn't understand what I meant. And in my heart, logically, there are things like that. I went to the field, and on the field I saw some kiwis, but I have never planted kiwis, and I never even thought about planting them. And also, there is no reason why someone else will plant the kiwi in my farm. So if you know the logic, then for one topic, even if you don't remember anything, you will not say something against the logic that I know in my mind and that I know in my habit. Isn't it so? Even those of you, if you think in a logical way, and if you have a good understanding of the logic, then even if you don't have the good memory for something, depending on the logic, you know what you have said before, and that's why you need to listen to it twice, 3 times, and compare it to your everyday habit. And if there is a room for improvement, then you need to improve and change. And you need to think in an objective way, a little distant from yourself, because it will only create headache to you. You understand? So right now the contents here, because they're so jewel-like, the person like Kamlishila, and they are, I wonder how they were able to write something like this. I'm so grateful to them. Every time, I have the deep respect for them, and also I'm so grateful to them. And how is it possible that they have written something like this? So those pioneers, in order to make us study those ancestors, to make us understand a little better and to make us study, we can see how much efforts they have put into these books. If they had their own greed and also their own self-satisfaction, then they could have written that, oh, I am such a great person and I will not write in a very easy way, because I need to write in a more complex way to gain people's respect. But here they have not done something like that.
영어도 아니고 무슨 콩글리시지만
We have in saying, I don't know, you don't know, we don't know. So that is also not kind of the law. So if you do not start with what you know, all the things you need to start from where you know. So you need to listen carefully. So last time we just did the samatha for 1 hour. That's very sad. So samatha is a state where you're not losing your heart to any other source other than your concentrated part, and also the state you can make your heart stay where you want to, and the status of a heart which has attention to an object is very stable, and it is away from distraction and agitation, and we call this state in samadhi. So the agitation and distraction disappears, but the thing is, if the distraction disappears, then you feel sleepy. Some say, when I recite mantra, I'm not sleepy, and there are two reasons. One is if you're under delusion or if you're very deep in it. If you say, I am reciting mantra very wholeheartedly, but I am not sleepy, if I listen carefully, that could be the state where you have the distraction somewhere in your heart. Konsenbosai let my children pass the test, and I have so much headaches. Konsenbosai, while reciting, your head is so full of many other ideas. In that way, you will not feel sleepy. And you might also feel that yesterday my granddaughter came and I do kind of miss her, and because of that I am sleepy. Then just like when you switch our light, it becomes dark. The thing that we assume is a light is just like if the light comes through a small gap between the doors, then you can see the dust flying around. Just like the agitation, the dust is like the agitation, and if it disappears, then we can know. So the distraction and also the agony, they are in the same family. So if we say agony do not arise from my heart, but if we tell the children, please do not make noise, that means we are asking the children to sleep. So if you have so much pain or agony in your heart, then in your mind, then you will not feel sleepy, and even in the night you will not feel sleepy, and your headaches, and you might also have insomnia. And if that goes a little stronger, then the gaps or the ups and downs in your head will also become faster, and that will cause the depression in the end. And the depression is caused from your action of rolling your head in too fast way. And I think all the philosophers in the Western world, they have the problem with your mind because they have been using their brain for too much. So I think people living in Western world, because they study too much, and And
하버드 대학생 반 이상이 또라이죠.
I think the half of the Harvard students, they're a little crazy because they used your head for too much.
그로서 세계에서 1등이다.
Uh, and I think because of that, because they use too much of your brain power, there are too many cycles there. They need to use their brain adequately, but if they use their brain too much for the betterment or for the benefit of ourselves, just like the stock, we are sitting in front of our monitor and keep talking on the phone. But then, when you look at them, you need to see if their mind is at the right place. Those people who use their brain religiously or too much, what do they have to do in order to calm it down? They do not do meditation, and when they feel that they need to rest your brain, what is it that they can do? It's either that they smoke or they drink. They drink a lot and make their head a little foolish, and because of that, they tend to drink too much because they also have headache from too much use of their brain. So while drinking, they feel sick, and while using their brain too much, they have headaches. So two of them come together.
골뱅이 말고 경상도 말로는
Please watch my pronunciation.
골뱅이가 되고 그래. 그래서
So
이게 벗어나지면요.
if you are able to step away from it, then you can step away from two of them. So if you say, I have the distraction, but I cannot get away from confusion, that in a way is saying that you have not been able to step away from it. But some people, if they have removed the distraction, then they feel that they have achieved the samadhi, but that is not the actual state. Some people who feel sleep, who sleeps, then you don't even know that you are sleeping, just like they will approach you. It will come to you in this way.
그러면 이제 이게 산만심이 안 들어가고 본침에 빠지면
Even if you don't have the distraction, but if you are in a very slumber state, then you feel very comfortable because that's almost like the state of your sleeping. It's not. It is slumber is actually the state of sleeping, and some people even snore, and actually those people who is very talented at sleeping, they just tilt their head to 5 degrees and they would snore.
그럼 1시간 잠깐 지나가.
And for them, 1 hour, 1 hour goes very fast, and they would say, I have paid for 1 month, but you need to pay for the hotel. That is not a meditation room for them, but for them it is the sleeping room.
두 개가 나가 떨어지면 딱 떨어지는데 이게
If two of them,
여러분 새가 날아갈 때
the two of them gets affected,
부러지면
when the bird flies, if one wing gets hurt, then you cannot fly. The bird cannot fly. The bird will fall off the sky. It's same like that.
힘이 조금 사라진다 그러면 분명히
So if your distraction gets distracted, if your distraction gets disappear a little, then you will also have the agitation, and so you need to have the proper attention. And if you haven't lost the attention, then you will not fall into the problem of confusion.
본침이 오는 상태에서 그걸 순간적으로 그 내가
But at the time of the distraction and confusion, then you will fall into the confusion all of a sudden. Understood? While reciting mantra,
그건 본침이야. 근데 끝으로 볼 때는
if you fall into sleep, then that is you're falling into the deep sense of confusion. In your head, you have the sense of the you're actually falling into the slumber. And if you don't fall into slumber or in a torpid state, you need to have the proper concentration.
그게 이제 우리가 이제 사회생활을 맞이 여자들은 대체적으로 이게 뭐냐면 살림살이라고 애를 키우는 이 습관이 강하게 있어가지고
Women, because they have your habit of growing up children and also buying things for your daily basis, you you measure between the different supermarkets. But people like us, we cannot. We do not really measure between the different supermarkets. And when I go to one supermarket, you tend to tell me that that place is expensive. And you know, that kind of thing affects our study a lot. If you color your hair with this color, it's good, or that's good. But you know, people like me, I don't even have hair. So, and even I don't have so much idea about cars too. And I think maybe it's good cars are big cars, and sometimes I think trucks are good, and it doesn't really matter to me. And I'm not saying I'm ignorant about this matter, but I'm not ignorant, and that's why I'm not ignoring them. But in my opinion, even good cars, they are really good. In olden times, when they don't take you to the in olden time, we used to go in a car that's driven by a cow. Compared to them, it's really nice. And do you remember the car that used to run with coal? And sometimes it used to stop in the middle of the way, and it caused a lot of confusion and havoc. And we had to leave all your luggage behind and go back to get it. But nowadays, even the very small cars, they go at a very fast speed. And people nowadays are very fat, and they even take people with obesity. Nowadays, even the small cars, they are able to go through the Deogalyeong area. You never heard that the engine broke down. I haven't heard that the car could not perform properly.
그래서 구분하는 것도 무던하게 척 보면 아는 정도로 이렇게 그냥 구분하지. 이게 저런 얘기야.
You compare a little, but you should not compare too much about a place where the price. And if you think them in an easy way, then there is nothing free. There's no 1+1 there. And if you go to Mart, and if they sell you for 1+1, then you have actually been cheated from somewhere else. Because the sales is not done properly, they're giving it to you for 1+1. You know that.
다른 데서 쏘은 거야.
You have been fooled from other place.
다른 게 비싸다.
So maybe, for example, other thing is more expensive, and if you go to E-Mart or Lotte Mart, they have no clocks on the wall, and so some people so people just come there, and mundanely they just go around looking at other things to shop. So you went in and you have been fooled in some way. So until that you have been spending money for the 1+1 that they have sold to you, you have to purchase. So if there is any customer who is very clear about what she or he wants, and if they are not able to gain benefit from them, then they will not have this 1+1 sale anymore. They will stop it right away. So that's also a symbol that the customers are a little foolish. If they're really trying to help, then they would have made the utensil or the container big from the first place. So do not be fooled by those merchants. So those things that you want to buy, just buy them. And while practicing samatha, it acts as a great disturbance, especially for women. Your various decision making. I'm not saying that female. I'm not degrading the female, but male, we have the sense of anger, the rage,
앞장서 가지고 뭘 하려고 뻥떡거리는 그게 다
and also men have a problem with leadership. They want to stand in front and they want to do something. The act or the part that discourages or disturbs, they are different. So do not try to roll your head too much. Saints, they don't roll your heads, and even the acts of saints for the benefits, we call them confession. We do not say they're doing it for the benefit of themselves. If there are a lot of talks about what has been done, then they should just end with, oh, is it so? Do not just go around comparing the different prices. Those merchants who come and say it does not come every day, those grandmothers, they come and although the grandmothers, but they don't fool. They say, it's okay, I will not be fooled there. But then they would. But their scale of selling is so great. And they also say the price is so reduced, and so because of all the credit card benefits and all, and you can just pay like $30 this month, and if it's not helping you, then bring it back. I will return you the money. And then the grandmother will think in her mind, and she say, oh, I'm not losing anything, and I'm buying it for half the price, and that too, from the half the price, I'm also getting benefits. And moreover, like 10 months installments, I just have to pay $25 a month. But in the end, it is actually worth only $2. It's the coloring and sugar, and if you just mix with some other things, then it's just like any other weeds that can be found in the mountain. Just because of the present that's given to them, which is like a tissue paper. Even the tissue paper, when they're giving, they are bargaining with it, saying that if you want to leave, I'll give it to you. And when she's there, he's acting like he's not giving. And if she doesn't purchase it, they give the tissue paper and make her feel sorry. So the grannies, they are usually fooled by their own cunningness. The answer is very simple. You just don't have to go saying it's just cheating. If you're trying to find benefits from it, and also you should know that they have practiced so much, like taking money out of your pocket. And I have told so many times not to fall into this pyramid selling, but they always tell me that this is not pyramid, but in the end that's always a pyramid selling. And one day I decided not to tell you anymore, because you need to learn from lessons. And amongst the three sattvas that were there, one of them came back and say I was right. The two of them, they're not even coming because I don't know why they're not coming, but you should not have this kind of you should not use your brain in that way. Do not always change your decision. Your heart should not move too much, and you should always be able to maintain the ideal state of your mind, and that's actually the preparation. Once someone asked me, while reciting mantra, is it better to buy the food or is it better to cook myself? even that one, you're just you're spending time trying to make a better decision. If you just decide on one thing, then you should follow the other. The decided choice. So we call this in the state of samadhi, and in this state you can feel the unsurprised happiness.
보살 초주 2주 3주씩만 3주심 4주심 이 정도만 돼서 나가도 굉장히 파워풀하고
By coming here, if you're only able to attain first, second, or fourth stage, that's also strong enough, and it will also calm your mind so much. Your body and your heart, your mind will be very happy. You can know that.
본인이 그걸 느끼기 시작해. 본인이 느끼면 그
You will
맛을 보고
start feeling yourself, and once you have tasted that, Buddha once has said that the taste of samatha
같이 히말라야 산
is almost like
2,500, 3,000고지 이 정도에서 약초를 먹고 자란 약 소가
it's almost like yak who has eaten the medicinal plant in Himalaya 2 to 3,000 feet, and with the milk that they have given, it's like a yogurt that's made with that milk. And once you have tasted that milk, the yogurt is very difficult to eat any other sort of yogurts because it is so good.
그래서 심지어는 우리가 이제 처음에 사마타법만 법을 가르쳐 놓으면 경전 공부를 안 하려고 되더라고요.
So first, if we teach you how to do the samatha, you try not to study the Buddhism because the taste of it is so good in the first time.
그릇없이 우유를 손에다 받은 것처럼
Then it's almost like you're getting it on your hand without any utensil to any container to take it. So you have to have you need to study the mantras, and you need to study them, and that's your method not to fall into hunger.
그래서 이제 지복감을 맛볼 수 있습니다.
So you can feel the felicity. Vipassana is gaining insight to the object of your attention. So for samatha, your heart is in tranquil state and is very in clear state.
옹달샘이 하나 있는데 옹달샘
For example, there is a little pond, and in the pond, if there is no wind and if the pond is so clear,
얼굴을 탁 들여다보면 얼굴이
then it is so calm that if you put your face in the pond, you are able to see inside the pond. And if you have attained the state of samatha, then your mind is so calm. And at this time, the object, and in the state of samatha, if you're able to see the object,
그게 그 거울에 또는 옹달샘 물이 조용한데
then that's almost like just like your face getting reflected in the mirror or the pond.
지금 우리가 보고 있는 건 대체적으로 이름으로 보고 있거나 안 그러면
Right now, you are seeing an object or a person with a name, or you tend to believe that there is something that doesn't change, but
근데 그런 거
you're actually
일기에서 일어나는
it's the same for looking at myself, but it's the same in the dependent arising, and also you're able to see yourself. You gain the insight, and you will lose the attachment in that way.
별로 없어서
Honestly,
권력이나 돈 여기에 대해서는 그 어려서부터 별로 관심이 없었지만
honestly, I never had interest in power or in money ever since I was young. But about 10 years ago, I felt that my attachments or anything, something got to do with money leaving me, and I'm not interested in those things.
그 관심도
I have no interest even to take it or leave it, and even by standing here, or I have no desire to go at
좋은 차를
the higher power, and I don't have any desire to drive a better car or to have some a little more honor for my name. Because I have no interest for them, I feel so comfortable and I feel it's a really good thing. Once someone told me that I went for the teaching there, and one of my juniors said,
총무에 와서 일을 좀 하셔야죠.
why don't you come and work here and in this office? And I told him that you better do yourself. If I come there and work, then they will follow him. But that's just the act to use me for their benefits.
내가 거기 또 수입 아이고 이제 수입 나이가 되고
If I'm in that age, then you need to have a little name for yourself. But I don't think that's good enough. And what good will I get by having the names? What is the difference if my name is a cow dung or the dog's dung? Even the name is very pretty. So those of them, they are very useless and they are very fake. And because you can see them or you can see through them, you don't have the feeling to do that. With this precious life of mine, I am born with the body that's given to me from my parents. You don't know how precious that is. And why would you try to waste it at something that is useless? Then think about it. Even our act of trying to earn our daily bread, you have to think, after all the hard work that I have been doing, am I living my life in order to just to feed myself? The whole day you clean, you make food, and just like squirrel on its roll, you wonder, you wonder, was I born just to do this? It seems life is very futile. But those kind of things, it's best to minimize them. So when I went to Sri Lanka, even the normal people, they try to live their life without any greed, and that's also very beautiful to look at. And also the normal Tibetans, when I see them living their life without much greed, it's also very pretty. So you should also become pretty. Even the children, if they have less greed and while they were born, if they decide or if they try to have the thought that they will try to live their life for the betterment of others, then even they become very respectable and they look very pretty. But those of other kids who live for their own good, then they are almost like the devil. They are not like a human kids. It's very uncomfortable to look at. So if your thought is being concentrated, if you're concentrated to Samantha, and if your mind becomes so clear like a mirror, then the thing that you see, you'll be able to see through them. Our affection and our attachment, we are not able to break them off because of our attachment to the eye. They are being diverted, and the diverted form will disappear, and you'll be able to gain the insight. So we are not looking at things with experiments, but if you have attained the Samantha and if there is no wavelength, then you're seeing the thing as they are, and so you will also be able to get rid of the attachment, and you will have the sense of equanimity. You understand? Before, I saw few of you who meditate, you have closed your eyes totally. It was almost closed. you have to open like half.
이 정도면 되라. 눈꺼풀이 처진 건 아니지.
It's not like your eyelid has fallen down, closing down. So when you're seeing, looking at the book, it's not like you are trying to lift your eyelid.
너무 까보면
If you close your eyes too much, that's also not good.
아까 얘기해 주는 거라서.
Oh, I forgot to remind you that
그 관에는
in Vipassana, we have both a mundane wall and the supramundane wall. It might differ to the object of the Vipassana, but basically we refer to the mind that's concentrated to the voidness. So two kinds, the mundane wall and supramundane wall. The Vipassana, when you say mundane wall, what is supramundane wall? The mundane wall, it is generally for the phenomenon.
그런 걸 이제 얘기하는데 그건 놔두고 수행의 주된 목적인 출세관적인 관이라는 것은
When we refer to Vipassana, which is the main objective of our practice, essentially
자기의 성질
there is no object that does not have essentially there is no object that has something eternal. So it is the Vipassana for the voidness.
사마타 상태에서 공생에 대한 간을 함으로써
Since you are practicing the Vipassana for the voidness with the state of samatha, you understand that everything comes and goes with the relation and there's nothing eternal in this world. And if you observe things in this way, then your objects of attachments will disappear.
석가모니 부처님께서
Shakyamuni taught to practice of both Vipassana and Samatha.
수행을 가리키는 뒷부분에 마무리하는 가리킴은 앞부분에 아주 예비단계
The ending method of Buddha,
부분에 마무리
although he has given so many ideas in the beginning, although he has opened many of his teachings with many different ideas, in the end they are bound to end with Samatha and Vipassana.
지관 이게 사마타와 비파사나라 그래야 마음 속에 있는 것까지 명료하게 정리가 되지고
Then only the things even inside your heart, they will be classified and clear, and you will not be able to see any other thing in this world in a wrong way.
일생 동안
That's why Buddha has taught all his life Samatha and Vipassana. Only those two of things you can achieve the dhyana or tranquility, dwelling in tranquility.
그게 도도나
So you can.
상태가 100% 안 되는
So the Taoism or other religion, they are not able to have achieve dhyana because although they practice that, but when they go through their everyday life again, then agony starts disappearing again. Buddha has that for 6 years and he realized that it is not happening. So when he asked the teacher, isn't it the only way that this goes? And at the time, the teacher who taught Buddha, he was one of the best person during the era, and he told Buddha that it is not possible. And he said, when you have attained the state, that's already the best state. But Buddha has refused to accept because this agony comes back again. Then why are you sitting there and thinking about it? So if you have muddy water in an utensil, and if you leave it for a few days, then all the mud has sunk down. But then in that time, during the time, you need to take out all the mud. If you don't, then if you mix it again, then the water become dirty again. So if the suffering of humankind this appears once again, then that's again the wrong method. And so you need to get rid of everything. And of course, we are going again this time, but Buddha-gaya, on the way to Buddha-gaya, there is a small cave, rock cave. So Buddha gave up his teaching and his practice, and he sat there and thought about what is it that I can do, and he came down to Seattle village, and he sat under the tree and did his practice. So at the time he didn't know what is the method to completely get over the agony. So if you with the methods that Brahmin teaches us, Buddha has decided that there is no way that we can overcome all the agony in this world. So he sat in Buddhagaya and deeply So for 6 years, he did not even cut his hair, took shower. When he was doing all the ascetic practices, he was just drinking a spoon of water and just having a piece of rice. And you saw his picture of after he did you saw his the image of the extremely emaciated Buddha after 6 years of his practice, right? So after all this practice, he took shower and he came out, but because he was so out of energy that he fell unconscious in the sand. And since one of the practitioner ascetic practice, the saint had fallen, the lady who found him boiled milk and made him drink. So but a lot of other people thought Buddha has given up his ascetic practice and he was leaving, and that's what other people misunderstood and left him. But once a day, when he tried to become a little more, he got a little more energy with the boiled milk that he was getting every day, and he thought if he's not able to open the door to get rid of the agony completely, then he had the mindset that he would just rather die here sitting. So he never gave up under the tree, and the record is not very clear about how many years he sat or how much time he spent there under the Bodhi tree, but he fell into a deep samadhi, and he finally achieved the state where he got rid of the complete agony. So in the early morning, he sat down, and it seems like he was sitting towards the star. And when he was sitting, when he saw the first star, all his agony disappeared. But then he was a little scared that even the pain or defilement arose. So he took a walk in the morning, and he had a little thought with other merchants, and he even went for a walk in fear that the agony comes back to him again. But they did not come back. So he said, so those that Brahmins have done for thousands of years, they were not able to achieve it, but I did it. No one was able to talk about the time when all the pain disappeared, but I have experienced that there is a boundary. And for about 3 weeks there, he took a porridge a day, and he spoke to many people. And since no pain was arising again in his head, and it didn't really matter to him when he woke up in the morning. So we say he has finally achieved the state. It's out of pain and agony. So I should make sure that I tell people soon. And as a life and as a person, I don't think I can gain.
하고 시작한 것이 이제 그첫 문제입니다.
I don't think I can gain more happiness beyond this. And so first teaching he did to the 5 months.
그래서 그래서 이제 이게 이렇게 된 것은 당신은 방법을 몰랐어.
And this happened because he did not know the method,
그런데 이제
but due to his diverse practice, he was able to have that. And he says, since I have done it, if you do it this way, then maybe this formula, it's will be able to achieve. You will be able to achieve this state. You need to think this way, and you need to have the proper perspective. And if you do this, then that's good. And the main idea for this is samatha and vipassana. Only those two things are the method to achieve dhyana in every way. So when we say in every aspect, the best, the supreme, samatha and vipassana, when all the pain or affliction disappears, you can achieve the dhyana. And that's why we call it Buddhism, and the person who has achieved this state, we call them Buddha. And the method, because the method teaches us to attain the state, we call it Buddhism. When we use the term Buddhism, because we take the Shakyamuni as the head teacher, if other Buddhism follows the name as Buddhism, then they need to have their own teaching, but their own distinctive teaching. But if they use the name Buddhism and if the content is different, then that is not acceptable. That's why in this context, we consider both samatha and vipassana very important, and we suggest you to practice two of them together. So in Korea, we say those people who study, they say they can only do the vipassana, but that is not acceptable. And even the person who goes to meditation, they say only samatha should be practiced, but that is also not good enough. So a few of the teachers, like Wonchik, when we have read the Unrevealing Thought Sutra, they also talk about the importance of samatha and vipassana. And even in Venerable Wonhyo, he talks about vipassana and samatha, and also Bojoguksa talks about them. And apart from them, a lot of people, only those who say you can just do the head, then some might misunderstand that we just can do the samatha. It's more than enough. It's easy to understand that way. So, in Songgang Monastery, we use the term sa for monasteries, but that refers to the place. For the Foreign Affairs Minister, but that became a little different for they got derived to another area, just like companies. But the place Jeongwesa in that monastery means it's a place for practice of samatha and vipassana, both two of them. But in order to do the two of them, the sequence is samatha comes first. Because if you do the vipassana first, then it will just be stuck in your head. So just like when you're trying to look at the mirror in your heart, then you have to clean the mirror first. Without even making the mirror, if you try to look at other object, then in the in the mirror that is dotted or that is not clear, you cannot view the object. And if you have a mirror that is out of form, then you cannot see the object too. So if you want to view the object properly, then you have to have a proper mirror, clean mirror.
수행의 가장 기본이다.
And doing that is the very basic of practice.
첫 번째 수행에는 지 하나에만 익숙해져서는
If you get accustomed to only vipassana, then it's difficult to you will have a boundary or you have obstruction, and so
맨 마지막 청소를 해버릴 수 있는 것이 뭐냐면 이게 그 비파사나.
vipassana is like the final stage where you can clean everything up.
사마타만 가지고서 이제 안 돼.
It's not possible only with the samatha.
지 하나에만 익숙해져서는 요가
Just getting used to Ji, then it's difficult to cut down the agony of the yoga practitioners.
하나만 가지고서 설사 초선정에 든다 손 치더라도 그거 하나만 가지고서는 뭐가 생겨버렸냐면 관을 하지 않으면 바른 관을 정관을 하지
So if you do not have the proper vipassana, then you will have the attachments or fetters to the dharma and doctrine, and that is also not suggested. Only momentarily you can suppress the agony. You can only shorten or make it weak for a short time. It's only helpful in that respect. But through the vipassana,
이제 이거 내 얘기인데
this is my saying, but
수행을 하면서 이렇게 보니까
while practicing samatha,
내가 사마타가 이루어진 것만큼 간이 되지.
until amount that we have achieved the samatha, you can practice the vipassana. So only as much as the mirror is clear, you can see the reflection, and only up to that much you can cut down the agony in your mind or in your heart.
무슨 얘기인지 아시겠죠? 예? 왜 법소문에 대답 안 해?
You understand what I mean? Some of you don't answer. You answer in your heart.
나한테는 얘기했던
Okay, then I'm also going to talk to you in my heart. I'm going to make the teaching in the mind.
마음으로 하는 그게 마음하고 몸하고 구분하면
If you distinguish the mind and the body, then it will become two things. Your husband is not saying he loves you because he's doing it in his mind, but if he's not speaking out, then it's a lie. Then that's the ghost doing it.
귀신이 하는 거다. 나 마음으로 다 그렇게 하네.
If he says that I'm doing everything in my mind or in my heart, then that's all the saying of the ghost. But if he says he doesn't have it in his heart, but only in the speech, then that's only that he's doing it from the corpse.
그러니까 마음하고 입하고 같이 해야 돼.
The heart and the mouth, they should do it together. Then only the weight will be carried out.
신행이라는 것도 스님 나는 마음
So even when you are following the prayer, please don't just tell me that you're doing it in your mind or in your heart. The both mind and the heart and the mouth, they should come together. Two of them has to be together. Don't just tell me that you're doing it in your heart. Then I will also say, eat your food with your heart.
옛날에 그 자린고비
Just like the miser eating the fish.
자린고비가 풍이 맞는가? 아들이
It seems like the miser had some problem, and
그래도 한 숟갈 뜨면 그런
so when he was going to fetch some water, he was eating the food for twice. He was giving the rice twice, and so when he said the fish twice, the miser said it's salty.
그러더라는
The son answered,
아들이 뭐라 그러고
uh,
앉아졌어.
what do you think he has to say that is not salty?
굴비를 두 번.
Since the miser said it's salty, if you look at the fish twice, then the son said, I ate the fish myself, so it should just end with once. It's just all the sayings of ghosts. So for the practice, you should not say those useless things. Both in your heart and mind and also the body, they should always be together. Someone said, when you meet on the road, it's I met the person who used to come here like 5 years ago, and she was trying to avoid me, but she was trying to avoid me, and so she went to the corner. But then I had to go to that road, and so she met me there, and she said, I come to teaching in my heart, and so I said, I also pray for you in my heart. So that's just all sayings of the ghost, mutual.
마음으로 하지 마라 이제.
So don't do it in your heart.
또 대답을 또 알겠습니다. 마음으로 하지 마라 그랬는데.
I told you not to do it in your heart, but you answer, just don't do it in your heart.
몸과 마음은 같이.
The body and the mind, or the body and the heart should be together. Even giving to someone,
교회를 다니거나
even the act of generosity, they should always be together. When you go to temples or to the church, the whole week you commit crime or you commit sins. And if you say you repent in your heart, then does it get repented? And again, for the whole week you're doing something bad, you will not get repented because you're just doing it in your heart. And with a little donation, you feel that you have given out something very big.
내가 원불교에서 뭐 이제 교회는 얼마 전에 며칠 전인가 뭐냐
Few days ago,
나눔 큰 잔치인가
and one of the Korean Buddhist sect, Wonbulgyo, they said they had the party for giving out, and I didn't understand what they're doing, and so I scolded them. This is just an event. This is not something a great party. So if you don't give out if you are not generous in your everyday life, but you're just doing it for event purpose, then it's almost like a cheating. I didn't say this, but because our one Buddhist sect,
분들은 아주 왼손이 하는 일을 오른손이 모른다든지 뭐 오른손이 하는 일을 왼손이 모른다든지 그렇게 해서 여수시내
because they don't. Maybe I'm not aware of the generosity that they do for our Yosu city, but no one really knows here. Maybe my antenna is not good, but I don't think there is anything that Wonbulgyo has been generous to other people. Seokcheon Monastery, we have never done the party for giving out to other people.
내가 말했어요. 석전사를 갖다가 조계종 등록된 사찰이 아니고 내 개인 사찰 갖다 팔아서
If this is not a monastery that's registered in Jogyejong, if this is mine, then I would have sold it and give. And if I have sold it, if I could sell it, and if the money is about 4 to 5 million US dollars, then I think it's a great idea to sell it and distribute to other people. But then if I sell it, then they will scold me, and also, but actually I want to sell it and give out to other people. But to the practice, if I sell it,
통상이 같이 뭐 그냥 그 귀신 푸다크리 무슨 빌로 다니는 것들은 그런 무당 절 말고 무당한테 가라 그러지 그냥.
and if you are coming here to pray, then you don't have to come to the monastery, but you can go somewhere else and do it. Those people who believe in those superstitions, isn't it? You don't answer. If you want to do those kind of other prayers, and I saw in the downtown that they have balloons, and it's a lot there. You can name. You can do the naming, and you can also find some god or that god, and you can also know the Chinese way of seeing your life. It's a lot.
그게 보리쌀이지 그게. 근데 가면 되고 그래
You can go to those places, and if there is no space, then if you want to study like this, then you just need a small space.
절들도 가보면
Even when you go to temple, they monasteries, they say the biggest monastery in Asia, but inside you're not even able to see the lords there because it's all shrunk. But outside, external appearance is just so big, and in front of the monastery they have written the great, the big day, and so yeah. But look at it, like if over time, the if something that's internal shrinks, then you will know that the outside will not be as grand as you want to be.
말하는 게 또 크다는 뜻이고 태는 또 크다는 뜻이고
In the end, you will just want to put it like major, majestic, and that way. The sesame oil actually means it's a real oil.
그게 그냥 참기름이라는 뜻이야. 그 이름
The
자체.
sesame oil is 참기름, so it's just the actual meaning of it is true oil.
참기름 앞에
In front of the sesame oil, if you put the real sesame oil, then it refers that there is a false sesame seed.
또 뭐라 그러냐? 진짜 순 참기름.
And so we say the real pure sesame oil. So that refers to the fact that there's also a sesame oil that is not pure.
가르치다니 하도 많다는 뜻이지.
And if you say original sesame oil, that means there's also duplicate sesame oil.
그건 못 써. 그냥 참기름 그러고 그냥
If you just say sesame oil, then it's just a sesame oil. There is nothing like pure sesame oil.
그 발상 자체가 내가
Even the thought of it,
이름을 갖다 붙일 때는
when I name it as a pure sesame oil, then in your heart,
참기름이라는 말을 붙이는 그 마음이 일어나기 전에 뭘 상대해서 일어난 거냐면 가짜 참기름이라는 것으로 상대해서 일어난 말이야.
the thought of pure sesame oil arises because you are actually accepting that there is a fake sesame oil.
그러니까 우리가 지가 이쁘다고 생각하는 사람.
So those of you who think you are pretty, it comes with the thought that the others are ugly. It's a very bad thought. It's almost like a criminal. It's a very bad. She or he is a very bad person.
그게 꼭 상대에서 일어나게 돼 있네.
Because the thought arises in subject to the others.
노파 남자애들 불지른 얘기 아시죠, 그죠?
You know the story about the old grandmother who burned the monastery? She used to take good care of the monk,
딸 보고 봉양을 하게 했어.
and she asked their daughter to take care of the monk. And so she went there, and
한 결제 기간을 갖다 이제 봉양을 잘해서 정진하라고 하니까 우리 딸이 시중을 다니까 어떻습니까?
so she asked, how is it that since my daughter is offering you? And so how was it when you saw my daughter? And
돌처럼 동하지 않았다 그 얘기 아니야.
And the monks replied, I wasn't shaken,
글망사가 가시오.
but it's like a stone or a wood.
내가 베기 살렸다고.
And she was very upset. She was very upset that I fed someone who doesn't even know
그죠?
to be grateful. And so she burned the house and she kicked him out. But when he says that it's like a stone or a wood, that's he said that because
그다음에 내가 목석이라는 그 개념이 나온다고.
because the basis of it's in relation with the fact that the heart moves.
그 50만 원짜리 잠바를 하나 샀어.
So once someone bought a coat that's about $500.
영감, 이거 세일하는데 20만 원 주고 샀어.
It's in sale, so I bought it for $200. That means the person is stolen.
30만 원 띵가 먹었다는 거야.
That means the person has stolen $300.
머리 아픈 사람 그런 적이 있나 보네.
It seems like you have done that before. So since my husband is upset when I give too much money, when I spend too much money, so I buy it for 500, but then I tell him that I bought it for 200. Seems like you're very compassionate. So in order, because you thought he will have the agony in his heart, so you're trying to be compassionate. But but if it was me, I would have not bought it because I feel bad about it. If I have to fool someone else, then I would not buy it.
옷이 없어도 대충 그렇게 사시죠.
If you have no clothes, then you just live as you are.
아 맞다. 옷 얘기가 나와서 그게
Yes, since we are talking about the clothing,
그 티베트에 지에 다니는 친일업다 교장
in Tibet, where Jie goes to Chenilopda, the principal, and Nechung, the old monks, they're about 80 years old.
저를 380만 배 했다는 그 노장님 그것도 80그
The old monk who is supposed to have prostrated about 280,000 times. I don't know what to buy for them. Like even the vitamins, they don't eat well. So they're like, vitamin is not even filling and it doesn't have a great effect and it seems like it doesn't do anything.
잡수시는데
That's why when they eat if they remember, or else
낫도 모르고 그런데
they just leave it for one whole year. So it seems like even the vitamins are not good,
안 떼니까
and since there is no heating system,
전기도
even the electric mat, just like our old people here, they don't use it because they have to pay for electricity. So when their students come there, they would just when they come and they switch it on for them, they would wait until they leave and they switch it off. We don't even have money in our monastery, and they don't want to make expenses to the monastery.
참 아름답게 살아.
So they live their life in that beautiful manner. So I don't know what I can do for them. Even the ginseng, they don't take it because they have not eaten that before.
여기서 소갈비를 째가
And so for that, I cannot make a beef. I cannot marinate beef here and take them. So
에라이 이번에 잠바를 하나씩 좀 노장님한테 사다 줘야 되겠다.
and so I felt maybe it's better to buy some light, warm coat for them. If you become old, then you don't have so much strength. Even the clothes, even the blanket I wanted to buy from Mongolia,
소나무나 이렇게 두려고
I wanted to buy for our nursing homes here. When I went to Mongolia about 10 years ago, I bought this lamb,
집착했는데 그거는
the wool, the fleece, a mat. I don't have attachment for anything else, but for that I have attachment. So light and it is very warm. But now it has shrunk so much that my feet comes out.
참 좋은데
So this blanket is so good. That's all I thought about. And if I go to Mongolia about next year, then I want to buy about 200 of them. But then again, will I have problem at the customs? Then I'll pay for the tax. And should I buy?
이렇게 그 힘이 없으면
That's because if the old people, when they don't have strength, when the blanket presses them, they also feel uncomfortable. That's why
뿌르면서도
we need a blanket that is very light but warm at the same time.
사올까 그런 생각을 했었는데 그처럼 이제 노인네들에게 잠바를 하나 좀 아주 좀 가볍고 따뜻한 거
But then I want to buy some very warm and light coat. But the dog
우리를 도살
feather, I don't want to do it because
키워가지고 털을 생털을 뽑고 앉았어 이렇게
after I saw it on TV, because they grow the duck and then they take out the feather, and then the duck is so naked, and again the feather grows and they plug it again. And so I decided not to wear the duck feather coat again. Then it's almost like the mink. They animal fur. They just
민크는 옷 한 번 빌려주고 죽었잖아 그죠?
uh,
줬나 뭐 뺏겼나
those animals they die after they have given off their fur.
오리털 잠바를 오리털이 따뜻하긴 한데 오리털 잠바를 사다 주지.
So I wonder what I can buy for them, what kind of good
오리를 뽑아간 거지.
coat I can get for them. The dog feather is they're plucking the feather out of a live dog.
어쩌면 좋겠어.
So what should I do? It seems like it's fine because the dogs are not dead. But nowadays, the Indonesian, the civet cat, the civet, they fed the coffee, and since the coffee beans are not digested, and the civet lives about 10 years, but if you give them a little money, they catch them from the wild forest and they bring it, and so they will just imprison the civet and feed them only with the coffee, and actually they can live for 10 years, but now they die in about 2 years. Don't drink that coffee. It's almost like it's animal. You're doing bad things for animal. You can live without that coffee. So don't drink that. So when I went to Mongolia, the fur, because they are cutting the hair in the summer, I thought it could also be a better one, but the dog feather, they're just plucking it. So but I want to get something warm and light at the same time. So I have about 5 old monks that I know, and I want to buy for them. And also they wear red color, so it's difficult to buy red color. Like the color that she's wearing, maybe the red bean color or chestnut color, or not. If it's not too red, then the color about that range. Okay, now we have diverted. So if you are not able to show the light of wisdom, then if you are not able to show the wisdom of light, then the agony in your unconsciousness, in your subconsciousness, if the vipassana is not practiced, then with the samatha, only with samatha, you're not able to cure until the root. So if you use a dishwasher, then they do not just wash it, but they also clean it totally. So just like all the bacteria are killed with the dishwasher, with the heat. So if you have the vipassana, then you can have the proper insight, and with the proper insight in your head, you will have you will be clear with the fact that that's wrong and that's not necessary. And while you have the vipassana, you can practice the 6 parameters. The relation and also the stages of practice are formed in that way. As spoken in the Unraveling Thought Sutra, only practice of samatha, you cannot cut down the karmic obstacles, but you are pressing them down for momentarily. So if you do not have the wisdom of light, then you cannot get rid of the latent agony in your mind. Therefore, it is impossible to completely extinct the agony in your life. And so, as is spoken in the Unraveling Thought Sutra, with the dwelling in tranquility, you suppress the agony, and with the wisdom, you extinct the latent agony. The Vajra is there in Sanskrit. Vajra, in China, they translated as Simon, but it actually means lightning. So what is lightning?
벼락은 나무를
If it hits the tree in an instant, then it breaks down the tree. It's very fast. So
그
when you say panya here, pranya, the just like the vajra, you cut down the agony,
그 사마타가
just like the lightning. So if the samatha is the basis, as the basis, if you experiment, then it is something very futile. And if you know that completely, then you will not go back to that. So
지는 사마타는 가라앉히는 것이고
samatha is suppressing,
그 사마타를
and through samatha
내 속에 잘못
to the vipassana,
회들과
with the perceptions, the wrong perceptions in my mind,
불안하다.
the thing that you can completely cut them down is prana.
선정은 번뇌의 망상을 가라앉히고 지혜는 그 무의식적 번뇌를 완전히 소멸케 한다. 닭빗자루 썰어내버린단 말이야. 그래서 부처님께서
Without dwelling in tranquility, you remove you kill or you terminate the agony, and with the wisdom you make the agony, the latent agony, extinct.
말씀하시고 화엄이나
21 years he spoke about the prana, but when he spoke for so many years, that's actually the method of practice. The 21 years, the prana that he spoke about, the essence is you have the proper perception, and with the samatha being practiced, and through the vipassana, all the agony, just like a lightning hitting, suppress them and extinct them.
단순히 지만을 수행해서는 번뇌 망상과
Simply, if you practice the samatha, then you cannot completely get rid of the obstructions and also the agony, the obstructing the enlightening. So you have to practice both samatha and vipassana, or else the samatha gets practiced before, and as much as samatha is being practiced, you can observe the thing.
우리가 지금 이제 보면
And if you look at it,
사마타가 이루어진 것만
as much as samatha is being practiced, you're able to have the vipassana, and that means the old monks here, the speech is already written, and they come out and just read it. They sit there for 56 years, and although the samatha is not practiced 100%, we assume that up to a certain limit, it's being completed. And if the vipassana is also practiced, and there is no reason for them to read the script. So whichever that they are having the look at it, or the whichever part of vipassana, they should be able to explain it.
원고를 써가지고 나가지고
So there's nothing for them to write the script and come and speak about it, because whatever they wish to speak, everything that they see and they speak are all the part of the order.
무슨 써가지고
They're already speaking about the thing that's already studied. But if they come with a script, that means their vipassana is not being practiced. And we are also uncertain if samatha is properly experimented.
하더라도 관의 뒷받침 없이
Although you have achieved the samatha related to voidness, without the support of vipassana, you cannot completely eradicate the obstructions.
비파사나가 되지 않고
So without vipassana, it's impossible to cut down the distraction completely. So even if you're in
멈추지 않고
samadhi, the agony doesn't stop.
생각은 멈추지 않고
It's not that the thought doesn't stop, but it's actually right to say the thought cannot stop.
삼매를 수행한다고 하더라도
Although you are practicing the samadhi, you are not able to stop the thoughts being arising.
번뇌로 너무나 살랑하게
And since it is too complicated or too complex with the agony, so it's almost like
보령을
It's almost like Udrak practicing his meditation. It's there in the way to Bodhisattva. He did his ascetic practice so hard that he never cut his hair from the moment he started, and his practice was so hard that when he attained the samadhi, he sat down until his hips got rotten.
앉아서 있다가 삼매 들어서
And he was sitting, and when he entered the samadhi,
일주일 만에
in
삼매 들었다 깨.
in a week, when he went into samadhi and when he woke up, when he got up, the hair just fell off,
왜 머리가 떠냐?
and
새끼가
his hair fell off because the rats ate his hair, and it seemed like inside his hair there was so much dust, and also the seeds, and the rats,
이 따르를 틀어서 이만하게
the long hair of the rats ate that. So when he thought about it,
톡을 지가 말이야. 내 고행을 40년 50년 고행을 한꺼번에 지가
my ascetic practice for 40 to 50 years, he made fun of my practice, and he got so angry.
그래가지고 막대기로
And
지는
with the stick, he tried to kill the rat, and it's so difficult to catch the rat. The rat ran away to the hole, and he was trying to dig the hole, but
다니가 약이 더 올라가지고
he got more angry because a rat was running off,
이 음식 쭉
and
집에다 뿌려.
and so he burned the house in order to kill the rat.
이제 우리가 마누라를 갖다가 마누라한테 폭언을 한다. 사랑한다. 소리를 하지 말거나.
But look at it, if you're cursing your wife, then either do not say you love her, or either don't get married, or do not curse her. Isn't it so?
바지를 저 반지를 사주지 말든지.
You should have not bought a diamond ring, or you should not curse.
반지를 사주고
You buy her the diamond ring and you curse her. And to which rhythm do you have to dance?
선정을 닦지 말든지.
Don't you think so?
봤거들라. 지새끼가 그걸 갈가 먹어서 먹으면 보고.
So even to this, you should not practice samadhi, or you should not have done it. So that's why Buddha has said that. That's also the story of the way to Bodhisattva. But whoever breaks the statue, or even if someone destroys the temple, looking at that person, if you raise the anger, then more than destroying the statue or the monastery, you who is angry, you are humiliating me furthermore. You're humiliating Buddha. Then that's all said about. There's nothing more to talk about. So that doesn't mean I am asking you to break the statue. If it was me, I would have added that line. Then you will become very unlucky, so it's not good. But on the other hand, raising the anger, it is more that destroys the Buddhist idea furthermore. And a lot of people who quoted or wrote the annotations, they said, if you break the statue, sometimes Christians, they draw the cross on the tanga, or they do many other things. But just by doing that, Buddha doesn't get destroyed. And that's all a very dark idea. They are all very dark ideas. So if you have those dark ideas, and if you are performing something, then his or her, the future is in darkness. No one else's future will be dark. So if you have anger, then you have problem with your blood pressure, but the statue's blood pressure will not rise. So think about it carefully. If not, you might say that you're actually doing it for the betterment of the Buddhist theory, but
그러니까 우리가 이제 이렇다고요.
there are some people, there's a person who died while laughing.
왜냐면 그리고 상자가 말이야 신임. 신임 지금 연세.
Because student, his disciples said, at your status, and with your age, how can you drive a small car? And he bought a car, a very expensive car. But I don't think it's a good. I don't think it was a good disciple.
물론 그잘그 다니게끔 하시는 것은
It's very good of him to give him a comfortable car, but if you look at it from other direction,
그런 의미에서
but from this point to the point of Buddha, it is not an offering. So
그 스님이
if by giving the big or good car, it's giving him an opportunity to ruin his reputation furthermore, or he will have a bad name. And
그렇게 해주는 사람을 보통
we say those people who do that to others, we do not say normally, generally they say they are very good disciple, but on the other hand, I think they are actually bad students. Maybe they're putting them to the maybe it's a way of creating a bad reputation for him.
창평은 평창이란다. 창평이 중요하다. 이것은 그 역시 맛있지 말이야. 상자가 연맥이는 것은 맛없잖아.
It is not a good act of the disciple to do that.
그래서 이게 그렇게 한다. 이건 독이구나. 그냥 안 받아.
So it's better to refuse that kind of gift.
그러면 설사
And so even if inevitably you have to take it and then give it to somewhere good,
나는 이참은 돼.
and just be satisfied with what you have right now. Isn't that so? You should do that.
그거는 스님들만
This not only refer to the monks, but it's the same what your children do for you.
스님 이번에요. 저 인도를 갈라 그랬는데
Venerable Jinok, I wanted to go to India this time for teaching, but because my son gave me money for my gathering, he gave me money to go to China, so I'm going to China.
그러면 아들이 어머니를 법회를 가게 만들었으니까
Then did the son make her go to the teaching or not?
아들이
He did very good job, right?
예? 아들이 뭘
The son did not do anything good.
어머님 그 놀러 가시는 것은
The mother going for a tour,
가서 어머님 가서 총 말씀 듣고
rather than that, he should have encouraged her to go to the teaching and listen to good words.
저 법회를
And so I will take care of the rest, and so please go to the teaching. If the son had the wisdom, then he should have done that. But
무슨 복으로
with what luck?
까먹는 얘기고 껍데기도 까먹어도 껍데기도 안 난다.
But that's a luck that does not say. If you say that when will we have another opportunity to go to China? So go to China. No, you should be able to. You should have the strength to distinguish them. If you do not have that kind of strength, then in a very timid state, you will go to this path or that path, and you will eventually end up getting hurt. Those who practice, it should be like the blade
칼날처럼 면도칼처럼
of this word, just like the knife. You should be able to distinguish and cut them.
그냥 어리벙벙하게 구분 안 되고
If you're not able to distinguish them, and if you should not be just be where you are in a very blunt way.
경주에
Okay, in Gyeongju, 28 and 29, there is international seminar, and there will be about
전 세계
5 people are coming from people are coming from 5 different nationalities: Japan, China, and also Tibet. And so, how are we going to do the translation and things which were good and which were not good? We want to listen to their experiences, and we have to make the plan. For that, 28th and 29th in Dongguk University Gyeongju campus, we are going to have the campus we are going to have the seminar, so we have to rent it.
여기에서 이제
And so
우리 부패는 전부 다
those Monday teaching, if you could come and attend there, it would be nice if you stay there for overnight. But
예천자를 그리거나 석삼자를 그리는 사람은 이마에 뭐라고? 그러면 석삼자가 되고 뭐라고? 그 눈을 크게 뜨면 석삼자가 되고
but for those of you who has problem,
그렇게 이제 하시는 분은
you can come back on the day, same day. But
우리 저 이영자 보살님이
our Yongja,
보살님한테 전부 다
please contact her and give the detail.
그날 갔다 오실 분은 그날
Please make a list for those who are going to return on the same day,
그 하루쯤
and those who can stay there for overnight.
뭐라고 콘도 콘도지 뭘 갖다 그
They're going to rent a condominium
가셔서 여러분이 좀
for accommodation.
좀
And so for the seminar, if possible, about
차 정도
two cars. If you could attend, I'll be grateful.
그 이제 첫 대장경 그 첫 이제
So that's the first business there. And next year in May, there'll be another seminar.
그리고 지금 이제 번역
And now for the translation job,
이 우리 불교 용어 사전이
our
영어로 된
Buddhist wordings, we have about 10,000 words which are translated from Mandarin.
전체 번역을
And so we have taken them as very basis.
이제 그렇게 하는데 세미나
But for the international seminar, since it is our first business, if possible, all of you, I'll be grateful if all of you could come.
이제 그렇게 하죠. 이제 오늘 부표하고 다음 부표하고 그 다음 부표 두 번이 없는가 내가?
I'm not here for the next two teachings.
아니 비행기가 돌아오면 돌아와야지.
I'll be back when the plane comes back.
그 아마 그 28일 날 세미나 때문에 바로 들어왔다가 세미나 끝나고 무문관에 한 3개월 정도 있어야 되겠어요. 한국에 들어와.
I'll be spending about 3 months there after I come back to Korea.
아니 죽었다가 다시 태어나는 데는 한 만나려 그러면 한 20년 걸리잖아. 예? 죽었다 다시 만나는 거 8, 20년 걸리니까.
Even if you try to re-meet again after death, it takes about 20 years. So please give me some time for about 3 months.
예? 어디? 다람살에서 이제 중간 보만론이라 그래서
In Dharamshala, they'll be teaching
중론이
the teaching, and the path to middle way is very difficult.
용수보살의 그 중간 논이거든.
The middle way is Nagarjuna's teaching, and amongst the teaching,
핵심적인 이해 그걸
if you understand that, then
내용인데 중간 보만론
you'll be able to see the notes. But then,
거의 다 됐거든요. 책이 아직까지 안
but
나왔어요. 우리 역경은
but right now the book that they are working on, the 10 people are working on the same book, but the book is so difficult so that it is not being translated easily. One person is not able to do it, and they're trying to translate this together with the Tibetan geshes. And so before I leave, I wanted to give it to you, but it wasn't easy. So
어쨌든 간에
whatever it is, I will go there and see, and they'll be broadcasting this on internet and on 11th.
시차가 그 시차가 3시간 반이에요. 3시간 반.
The time difference is 3.5 hours.
거기에 부페를 우리가 9시 시작하나?
We start the teaching at 9 o'clock, and so it finishes at 12,
이제 그 오전
and it's twice a day, morning and afternoon.
이제 또 오전에 4시간
And so he does mornings, maybe 4 hours in the morning, and we're not sure when he will take rest. So I will go there, and
인도 시간에다 3시간 반을 더 하면 되지. 그러니까 이제 거기가 9시니까 10시, 11시, 12시
About 12 half in Korea,
됐어. 우리
uh, the the teaching will be broadcasted online, and
볼수 있고. 그다음에 여러분 가사불사 하신
the
거는
donations, the clothing donation that you made.
그 라닥에 불교
We have a Buddhist association in Ladakh,
그 스님
and
그각 사찰의 모든 명단을 다그 명단까지 다
I asked for the list from all different monasteries, and he's going to distribute to all other monks,
절 스님들 주스님들 그뭐 몇십 개 되는 절 주스님들 다 오게
because it's difficult to make all the monks come there to collect. So the representative will come there to collect, and in Spiti,
스피티는 아마 스님들이 한그 주스님들 한
I think about 10 head monks will come,
그
and even the distribution ceremony after 11th, the 11th after the teaching, you can also see the distribution ceremony, and the list that you gave us, I think the message will be sent to you at the time of giving it, and that it will be broadcasted.
그러니까 아니 가사 전달한다고 그렇게 참고
So please have reference.
그리고 이제 여러분 명단
And the list that you gave,
그 라닥 스님들하고 스피티 스님들 그쪽에
we requested them for a little prayer in Ladakh and Spiti.
그렇게 하면 되겠죠?
Okay, let's end today here.